Welcome to Walk the Talk. I'm your host, Tavia Avila. If you're new to the program, this show is all about offering support and resources, giving people everyday life tools to love, believe in themselves, fulfill their life purpose, and live their lives with joy. My guest today, Sheetal Ohri, is a media celebrity having her own radio talk show for over 8 years, Making a Difference, on KSJO Bolly923 FM, where she talks to her guests and empowers her listeners through her guest journey. Her guests have included politicians, nonprofit heads, startups and technology leaders, and local heroes who are making a difference. And I was also invited to be a guest on Sheetal's show about 2 years ago now. Sheetal is not just interviewing others about how they are making a difference, she herself is making a difference. Sheetal recently wrote a book, Custodial Battle, Chronicles of an Immigrant Mother Who Was Delayed Justice in a Family Law Due to Immigration Status. Sheetal, it is a pleasure to have you here today. Welcome to Walk the Talk.
Great. Thank you so much, Tavia. I'm excited and I'm humbled to be here on your show, Walk the Talk.
Wonderful. Wonderful to have you. Sheetal, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Again, that's a loaded question, but I'll try to answer
right?
it in a few seconds. I'm Sheetal Ohri. I am an individual, a creativity leader who believes in making a difference and who believes everybody around her makes a difference. And I believe the world's a better place when everybody's trying to be together to make this difference. And I am a mom, a daughter, a niece, a friend, to many, and that's my story.
I'm really curious, and we're going to dive into the book. But I really want to also ask you this question: what inspired you to create your talk show, Making a Difference? I mean, you just gave us somewhat of an answer right now with you believe everybody is making a difference. Everybody has the potential to make a positive difference in this world. I absolutely agree with that. That's what Walk the Talk is all about, is we can be a part of the positive ripple effect or part of the negative ripple effect. And Walk the Talk is this community of people who are making a difference.
Correct.
You know, they're starting with themselves first and foremost. They're diving in deep to love and believe in themselves, fulfill their purpose, to be of service, to live their lives with joy. And with that energy, it's a beautiful ripple effect. And they put that energy out there to the world, and they're making a positive difference. So I'm just curious. I just would love to hear a little bit more, Sheetal, when it comes to what inspired you.
Well, that's something very similar, Tavia, because when I started this about 8.5 years back, the whole thought process was that, I used to meet these amazing people out there, being in media, being in the entertainment and hospitality industry all my life. So I used to meet with these amazing people, and I would always wonder, how do I showcase this talent? Whether it's a kid, whether it's a politician, whether it's a nonprofit who's making a difference. I always had that in my mind. And I guess the universe just aligned everything together and created this, because the opportunity came to me while I was trying to set up a radio station here, which was 1550 AM. I was trying to help them, assist them with taking care of their marketing and branding and all of that. And that's when they asked me, would you care to have a talk show? And I was very interested. And I said, first, not interested immediately, but I would say I thought about it. And then I said, you know what? Why not? That's what I want to do. That's what I love, talking to people. I love just exploring the stories and knowing what's happening, and then actually trying to give that message out or empower the listeners. Because even if you can touch one heart, even if you can touch one mind, you've done it through your show, because you know what, you've empowered that one person who would now go and probably try to create that positivity ahead. And that's the whole purpose for Making a Difference with Sheetal Ohri, which is just talk, empower, and make positive changes.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love I just love when people get to that point where they get presented an opportunity. I hear this over and over again,
Yes.
whether it be on the show or just in general, where people are like, oh, I got presented this opportunity. And I was like, there was resistance. And then all of a sudden it was this, wait, why not?
Yeah, why
Like this,
not?
this
Why
beautiful
not?
surrender, kind of throwing your hands up in the air, like, and why not? Why not go for this? And
Right.
I just love hearing that because always it always like beauty follows after that
Correct.
realization and that surrender and that surge of energy. And I just love to see what comes forth for people when they reach that point of why not, and they just surrender. So beautiful. Thank you
Correct.
for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, Sheetal. And what inspired you to write a book on the topic of custody and family law?
Well, I went through it myself
Mhm.
um, many years ago. It seems ages ago, but yeah, went through
How?
a custody battle myself,
Mhm.
and it was just during going through those trials or custody hearings, sitting there in the courtrooms, asking for just the custodial time and nothing else, trying to see other parents go through the same and similar situations, parenting issues, custody issues, court system not really listening, giving 15 to 20 minutes for a hearing, a judge changing, or continuous pattern of judges changing because there was reshuffling of departments. It just kind of was an agonizing experience, I would say, a frustrating, agonizing experience. And during those days when I was going through it just felt like, what could I do? Here I am having a talk show making a difference with Sheetal Ohri. Here I am making a difference in some way or the other through my events, through my talk show, writing in newspapers, being a newspaper in charge, then hospitality industry specialist. And here I am sitting in this courtroom where my motherhood was being questioned, my being a good parent was being questioned because these people don't know you. They don't know their story. It's a makeshift, a belief of what the attorneys are trying to create or present to the judge in order for the judge to make a decision. And during that time, I think going through the whole status process where I was an Indian citizen and I wasn't being granted custodial time with my son just because the other party kept on calling me a flight risk, stating, oh, she's going to run away with a US citizen child. But excuse me, did ever the judge had the courtesy to ask the other party, what about you, sir? Did you file for her immigration status because you were a US citizen and she was an Indian citizen you married? So you both bore this child, you have both rights on this child who's a US citizen, but what is the situation for this mother to be called this? She has lived in India, she has lived in UK, she has got a great track record of being a good individual and a good
Mhm.
resident in all the
Mhm.
countries. So why should we know? These questions were never asked, Tavia. Never. All there was to it, we're going to give um, first supervised visits, then it's going to be 2 hours a day visits, then it's going to be 4 hour a day visit, then it's going to be one overnight. That was the breaking point for a human being like me. Forget a mother, a human being like me who always stood up for justice, who stood up for rights, because I was like, why are the courts not listening? I'm presenting facts to them, I'm presenting evidence to them. Why are they not listening? But then I guess because I was not heard is what made me write this book, because I thought if I can help any other parent who's going through similar circumstances, whether a mother, whether a father, I would love to do that. Because you know
Mhm.
what? There has to be a voice and
Yep.
there has to be a need for people to know their rights. So I just wrote this book, describing similar situations um, of my character here which is Ritika, and how she and her husband go through circumstances where she is left in India without an immigration status, and how she had to fight through the court systems of US when she comes back to just ask for her custodial rights. She's not asking for full custody. She's not asking for anything except her custodial rights.
Right. And Sheetal, when you're talking about your own experience of having 15 to 20 minutes for a hearing, that's not a lot of time. It's not a lot of time to ask questions or to be heard.
Right.
So
And Tavia, and for those 15 to 20 minutes, your attorneys are charging you $300 to $400 to $500 an hour because their travel time, they're
Mhm.
sitting there, they're preparing the documents. So just think about it. How much money is being spent in all this? For what? When two parents can actually mediate and meet and they don't want to, because I guess even the mediators just try to kind of make the reports or not really put too much of attention and too much of understanding into the situation, and then they just refer you to custody evaluations, which is another $20,000-$30,000.
Right.
So it's like an industry, which happens, and that's called family law here. Just an industry where if two parties are not going to be mediating and having same kind of thought process for raising their children, they have to go through this. And there are dime a dozen cases which a judge has to listen to in family law, and with staff shortages, with judge shortages, it just keeps on going. You're just
Right.
kind of given 15, 20 minutes, or later on a long cause hearing, or maybe a trial to go through, but that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's not my story
Right.
because my story was very different. But at the same time, I'm just trying to give the whole intricacies of the family law, how things are different when you're an immigrant or you don't have a status, you're just waiting for your status to be done by the other party or by yourself under the rules and regulations of our immigrations, but how you're treated and how you're not given the same rights is what this story is all about.
What changes would you like to see be made when it comes to family law court system when one party is an immigrant without status or is not a US citizen? What changes
Well,
would you like to see?
well, the changes should be that you should be heard. And I understand no case is similar and no circumstances are similar. But at the same time, a judge has to understand this. You cannot deny parental rights to someone who has got no track records of being a bad person, a bad parent, or a bad individual, just on the basis of another party or an aggressive attorney of another party trying to put this across. Fair chance has to be given to both parties. It cannot be denied just on the basis of immigration status.
I'm curious, Sheetal, how therapeutic was it for you to write this book?
Well, again, as I said, it just happened. When all this happened many years later, I was granted full custody of my son. I believe the court system saw the deficiencies, saw the whole situations, issues. I had to go through many trials to be granted that. But when it happened, it was like this. But it took, I guess, nearly 10 years of my life and my son's life. So we had to go through, both of us had to go through many ordeals, I would say many. I mean, this was immigration is just one part of it, but many ordeals. And towards the end of it, I have always been very um, giving, where I just let go and I don't try to hold on to anger or anguish and any kind of thought process where, hey, I'm going to take revenge, hey, I'm going to do that. Because in my mindset, a child is not a commodity. A child is not a materialistic thing. A child is just as human as I am, or the father was, or the father is, or whosoever a parent is, a child is just like us. So we have to make sure that what we can give a good upbringing to the child, and that's what I did. So I just thought, let's just get over with everything and just focus on one thing, which is my son. So I continued to focus on my son, and he's doing fantastically good, and he's a great son. He is, and I know he always will be. And so I've just focused on that. But during this time, in the last few years, I kind of was having those anguish outbursts in me every time I saw a case like mine, or every time I read about a case like mine. Many of the nonprofits I had worked with, they referred to such cases to me. Sheetal, do you think you can just advise? Sheetal, do you think you can just help? And when I used to see all this or hear all this and advise people, that's when I thought, why not just talk about it? Yes, it takes a lot of guts, because in our Indian culture, in our Indian society, it's not easy for an Indian woman to stand up and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I still see it. Many people I know who are socialites with me, they probably won't even talk about it with me, even though in their own homes, I know things like this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
But, I chose to stand up, not only for myself or for the community or for women who are going through, but for everybody. Because
Absolutely.
it's not about community. It happens in Hispanic community. It happens in American community, mainstream, everywhere we are seeing this. That,
Yeah.
there are custodial battles happening due to immigration, due to other reasons, but there are custodial issues happening. There are divorces happening. So why not talk about it? It's not a taboo. It's something which we need to actually speak and make decisions on, so that, what? A healthy mindset can be given. That's the whole thought process. And healthy mindset, when I say, is not only for us as parents, but even for the children. It's very important. So, yeah, I'm talking about it, and I want to talk about it.
I love it. I love that you're speaking up and having a voice. And it does take a lot of courage, especially with where you're from, your culture.
Yes.
There's this, I mean, you've expressed this, just in this interview. And I mean, we know this. If we've done any research on your culture, we know that, it's silence.
Correct.
It's silence, listen, and not be seen, but not so much be heard, right?
Right. Right.
And so here you are being very courageous and having gone through a really, really intense and emotional experience, Sheetal, and you are speaking out. You have a radio show, you're an author now, and
And I'm a hospitality industry specialist as well,
I love
working for
it.
the largest franchisee in the country for many, restaurant chains. So I'm very humbled and honored even to be part of that. So yeah, keeps
I
keeps me going, keeps me on my toes, and being a full-time mom to take care of my son's needs, which is his football, his now college counselings and other things, and then being a good daughter. I guess my parents are with me, so it's just taking care of them too. So it's a full-time job on a roller coaster, but I love it. I mean, every day is a different day. Every day brings you something new. Sometimes you're down, sometimes you're up, but I guess the positive set of mindset keeps you going.
Sheetal, what aren't you doing? You're doing it all. And I absolutely love
Yeah,
it.
we women have too much potential in us, and you know
We have
that.
a
So
lot.
you
Yes.
yourself are a living example of doing so many amazing things. So, I mean, it's just humbling, but yeah, I keep on going.
I hope that you realize, Sheetal, because I'm going to say this, so it's clear that I really hope that you take this in. You are really, truly paving the way right now, not just for women in your culture, but just for women and people in our society, just in our
Thank
world.
you.
You are
Thank you.
you really are a shining light for others, and oh, you're paving the way. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for all that you're doing. And again, it takes a lot of courage to kind of break away from the pack break away from the pack and to go forth and to really, listen inwardly and say, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't sit right with me, and I'm going to do something about it, and I'm going to take action. Our system needs to change when it comes to family law. I have seen so many friends go through struggles. Thank you for, being mindful of that as well, Sheetal. I mean, you're very mindful of it from your perspective of being an immigrant and what you went through, but you're looking at it from all angles. I mean, you made that very clear that this is just happening, period. That our system, that, where I go mentally first and foremost is the child. There is a child here. This is not okay. Are we at all thinking about the child and their well-being and how this is affecting them? This is time away from their parents. This is time away from them creating a solid foundation for themselves. I mean, I could just keep going on and on. Like, I feel like almost the child gets ignored in the system because they're dealing with the parents and trying to figure out like how to navigate it.
And the best line, which I have heard every time, we are looking at the minor child's best interest. So my thought has always been, so if you're looking at the minor child's best interest, this is not in the best interest of the minor child, right? So we, like you said, we have to make better decisioning, make better understanding of maybe the culture, these courts, these mediators, these people who are there, they have to be more aware of our culture and of the understanding where this particular family setting is coming from. Let's dive a little into it, understand a little bit, and then make these decisions, because end of the day, it's about the best interest of the child.
Absolutely. We need to do better. And what can we do to help change our system right now and to, speak up, be a voice, and to take action so things change, because it just cannot go on this way any longer.
Right.
Sheetal, anything that you want to say on that?
Well, honestly, Tavia, I mean, you've just said it all. Things have to change. The court system has to change. People who are handling the law, whether it's a court clerk or who's taking the paperwork from an improper, because there are parties who can't really afford these high fees of the attorney. So they try to go improper. That's the term which is used for people who are representing themselves. So these court clerks have to be nice to them, have to make them understand certain things or guide them towards the self-law help centers. So these things have to be mindful. Then the mediators need to understand the culture or people who they are dealing with or the family systems, and then write their recommending reports to the judge before the hearing. The custody evaluators who are charging a lot of money to do those evaluations need to understand the child is not getting brainwashed by any of the parents, and that the child is actually speaking their mindset. And then going back to the judges who actually gets the final report and who makes the final decisioning, or even the minors counsel who's appointed by the courts to be the voice of the child, has to make sure that they are actually speaking up for the best interests of the child and not favoring any of the parties involved. Or the judges have to read the reports, make their fair assessments by maybe talking to these evaluators and everybody directly, or therapists or whoever's involved, because as I said, it's an industry, a booming industry. Even if the economy would go down in any way, this industry would sustain, because you know what? There are so many cases.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it's 15, 20 minutes for each case. And sometimes, your heart goes out to these judges, because they have to take some very serious steps, because there are just some very crazy cases I have seen while sitting in that courtroom. So it's again, as I said, some kind of understanding has to be there, either of the cultures or the systems, or just the best interest of the child needs to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely. We are reaching the end of our interview already. It always flies by. Sheetal, I invite you to share the poem that you wrote at the beginning of your book. Would you mind sharing it with the listeners, please? I just love
Sure.
it so much. I brought the book. I was prepared to read it myself.
Yes, I wrote this. I wrote this poem for my son. He was not even 2 around this time when I wrote it. Your eyes seek me, my tears seek you. Your hands reach out to me, my hands fold in prayers. Your smile never leaves my sight, and I seem to become a distant memory for you. All around me is you, and suddenly you find yourself among strangers. I wake up and have your name on my lips, and somewhere in my mind, I hear you say, Mama. I still get teary eyed.
I'm like totally teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry. It just that poem just absolutely touched my heart. I could just feel everything. I could feel the emotion and just the depth. And thank you, Sheetal, for writing this beautiful book and being an inspiration and continuing to speak up and to um, talk about things that are important that we need to shine our light on and we need to do better. And I mean all of it. I mean you really are um, you're really covering all bases right now. I mean you're really bringing other people to the light with your show, making a difference, and you're really paving the way for so many people. And
Thank you so
you,
much,
yeah,
Tavia.
you're very inspirational. So thank you so much
I
for being
appreciate
here.
it. And I do want people to go and buy my book on Amazon, or if they can even go onto my website, www.sheetaloriauthor.com. I would really be humbled and delighted if people write and read the book and buy the book, read the book, and just reach out to me if you have any questions or if
Yes.
you need any help. And that's what your show is all about. Walk the talk, and you certainly do that.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you so much for being a guest here today. I hope to have you back on Walk the Talk in the near future. And thank you all for tuning in. Take good care.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
Tavia. Have a great day.
You as well. Take care.